And frankly, counselor, a bit dramatic for a Tuesday morning, wouldn't you say? Try to keep the theatrics to a minimum. The words hung there. Judge Harrison leaned back, a picture of relaxed authority. That practiced smile, the one everyone commented on, charming. Jasmine felt the familiar heat crawl up her neck, ignored it. She took a slow breath, deliberate. Held his gaze, let the silence stretch just a beat too long. The jury shifted, someone in the gallery coughed. My phrasing was precise, Your Honor, not dramatic. Her voice was quiet, even. But the edge was there, sharpened. He chuckled, a sound meant to dismiss, to pat her on the head. Precise, dramatic. Tomato, tomato, Ms. Crockett. Let's move on, shall we? The docket is long. He waved a hand, already looking down at his papers. A classic deflection, minimize, then dismiss. She didn't look away, didn't break eye contact. Theatrics imply performance, Your Honor. I assure you, my concern for the evidence presented is quite real. His eyes snapped back up. The smile flickered just for a second. A slight tightening around his mouth. Counselor, I'm advising you to moderate your tone. Advising, not ordering, yet. He still thought he had the upper hand, playing the benevolent patriarch. The audience murmured, a low hum of attention, they felt it too. The shift, the tiny crack in the smooth facade. My tone reflects the gravity of the facts, Your Honor. Is the court suggesting the facts themselves are inappropriate? Still calm, still measured. But the question landed like a stone. He leaned forward now, the relaxed posture gone. Ms. Crockett, this isn't a debate seminar. Present your next point or I'll assume you don't have one. The charm was rapidly evaporating, replaced by irritation. He tapped a pen, a staccato rhythm of impatience. She didn't rush, opened her file deliberately. The sound of paper turning seemed loud in the suddenly quiet room. My next point, Your Honor, directly addresses the inconsistencies in Sergeant Miller's testimony. Specifically, the timeline discrepancy. Judge Harrison cut her off. We've been over the timeline. The court finds Sergeant Miller's testimony credible. Do you have anything new, counselor, or just more interpretation? The word hung there, interpretation. Loaded, diminishing. Jasmine paused, looked at the jury, then back at him. Yes, Your Honor. I have the GPS data from Sergeant Miller's vehicle. It contradicts his sworn statement regarding his arrival time by 12 minutes. She held up the document, clear, undeniable. A ripple went through the gallery, a gasp. The judge's face tightened further, a muscle jumped in his jaw. He didn't look at the document. That data requires expert analysis, Ms. Crockett. Has it been certified? Entered into evidence properly according to Rule 7B subsection C. He was scrambling, falling back on procedure. Obfuscation. It was filed accordingly 3 weeks ago, Your Honor, and certified by Dr. Aris Thorne, whose credentials the prosecution already stipulated too. It's Exhibit 42B. Her delivery was flat, matter of fact, undercutting his procedural smokescreen. He flushed slightly, glanced down at his own console, feigning checking something. Of course, Exhibit 42B, I trust you'll connect its relevance without undue passion. Passion, there it was again, the subtle dig, the implication she was too emotional, not logical. She remembered another courtroom, years ago, a different judge, older, colder. He'd called her arguments shrill. She'd shrunk back then, let it slide. Felt the shame burn for weeks, vowed never again. This client, Mr. Evans, sitting beside her, his life hanging in the balance. His quiet fear, that wasn't passion, it was purpose. Jasmine nodded slowly. Its relevance, Your Honor, is that it proves Sergeant Miller could not have witnessed what he claimed, unless the laws of physics ceased to operate for him that specific morning. A nervous titter ran through the courtroom, quickly suppressed. The judge's eyes narrowed, the mask slipped completely. Now you're being facetious, counselor. That's bordering on contempt. Contempt, the ultimate weapon, the threat designed to silence. She met his glare, held it. "No, Your Honor, I'm being factual. The data is factual. Sergeant Miller's sworn testimony appears to be inaccurate." She chose the word carefully. Inaccurate, not lying, just not true. He slammed his hand down, not with the gavel, his palm flat, hard. The sound cracked through the tension. "Enough, I will not tolerate this line of argument. It's disrespectful to the officer, disrespectful to this court." His voice was rising, losing its measured cadence. "Disrespectful, Your Honor, or inconvenient?" The question was barely above a whisper, but everyone heard it. The air went thin, still. Judge Harrison's face contorted, pure fury now, no charm left. "You are testing the absolute limits of my patience, Ms. Crockett. Do you want to spend the rest of this trial in a holding cell?" The threat was bald now, naked aggression. The audience gasped collectively. This wasn't courtroom drama anymore. This was personal. Jasmine didn't flinch, didn't raise her voice, didn't react to the threat. She just stood there, let his anger wash over her. And then she did the last thing he expected. She tilted her head slightly, a gesture of curiosity, almost clinical. "Why is my pointing out documented evidence making you so angry, Your Honor?" The question was simple, deceptively simple. It wasn't an accusation. It was an observation, posed innocently. But it reframed everything, put his reaction on trial. He sputtered, opened his mouth, closed it, searching for a response. "How dare you, you are out of order, completely out of order." He was losing control, visibly, his hands were shaking. The bailiff shifted uneasily on his feet near the door, watching the judge, not Jasmine. Jasmine's gaze flickered towards the jury. Their eyes were wide, focused, not on her, on him. They saw it, everyone saw it. She spoke again, her voice still level, almost gentle. "Presenting evidence isn't disorderly, Your Honor. It's my job. Is your objection personal?" Personal, the word hung there, heavy. He surged to his feet, knocking his chair back slightly. "Personal, I'll show you personal. Bailiff, escort Ms. Crockett out. Now, consider yourself cited for contempt." He was pointing, shaking finger, face crimson. The bailiff took a hesitant step forward, looked uncertainly between the judge and Jasmine. Jasmine stood her ground, didn't move, didn't speak. She just watched him, the slow blink, the steady gaze. The silence stretched again, thick with consequence. Everyone waited. What would she do? What would happen next? He seemed to realize how out of control he looked, tried to regain composure. Took a shaky breath, straightened his robes. "This court finds you in contempt, Ms. Crockett. 10 days in county jail or a $5,000 fine. Your choice. Proceed with your next witness or the court will consider your case rested." He thought he'd won, reasserted his dominance through the sheer force of his position. He sat back down, adjusted his microphone, avoided her eyes. Jasmine finally looked down at her notes, took a breath. The room held its breath with her. Then she looked back up, directly at him, and delivered the line. Quietly, clearly, cutting through everything. "That's not an order, Your Honor. That's retaliation." Silence, absolute, profound silence. You could hear a pin drop. The court reporter's fingers froze above the keys. The jury members stared, mouths slightly open. The audience was stone still, shocked. Judge Harrison looked like he'd been struck, physically struck. His face went from red to pale in seconds. He opened his mouth. No sound came out, just a strangled gasp. Retaliation. The word echoed in the dead quiet, an accusation so direct, so undeniable in that moment. He pushed himself up again, slower this time, almost unsteady. His eyes locked on Jasmine, pure, unadulterated hatred in them now. "Bailiff, I said remove her. Now are you deaf?" The bailiff, a large man who usually looked bored, now looked alarmed. He took another step forward. "Ma'am, please come with me." He spoke quietly, looking at Jasmine, almost apologetically. Jasmine didn't move, kept her eyes on the judge. On what grounds, Your Honor? Citing the rule you believe I violated. Her voice was still infuriatingly calm, a demand for procedure in the face of his meltdown. He ignored her, pointed at the bailiff. Do it or I'll hold you in contempt too. Use force if necessary. Use force, the words shocked the room. Against an attorney, standing still, speaking calmly. Suddenly another voice cut through the tension, sharp, authoritative. Judge Harrison, stand down. Everyone turned. Judge Isabella Rossi, the presiding judge of the district, stood in the doorway at the back of the courtroom, flanked by two court marshals. How she got there so quickly, no one knew. Someone must have alerted her. The whispers, the rising tension. Her face was grim, disappointed, angry. Judge Harrison whirled around, shock clear on his face. Isabella, what is the meaning of this? This is my courtroom. Not when you conduct it like this, it isn't, Arthur. I heard your order, use force, against counsel presenting evidence. Have you lost your mind? Her voice was low but carried immense weight. The marshals stepped further into the room. He sputtered, tried to regain his footing. She was disrespectful, insubordinate. She accused me. He accused himself, Arthur, with his own behavior. We could hear your shouting down the hall. Judge Rossi walked slowly towards the bench. Her eyes never left his. The bailiff had frozen, waiting for her signal. Jasmine remained perfectly still, watching the inevitable unfold. Judge Harrison seemed to shrink, the rage deflating into something else, panic. This is unacceptable interference. I demand. You demand nothing, Arthur. You will step down from that bench. Now, marshal, escort Judge Harrison to my chambers, immediately. One of the marshals moved towards the bench, firmly, not aggressively, yet. Judge Harrison looked wildly from the marshal, to Judge Rossi, to Jasmine. His eyes landed on Jasmine, that steady, unwavering gaze. Something inside him seemed to snap. He suddenly lunged, not towards Jasmine, towards his gavel, grabbed it. No, this is my court. Get out, all of you. He raised the gavel, not to strike the bench, aimed wildly towards the approaching marshal. A collective scream from the gallery. The marshal moved fast, blocked the clumsy swing, grabbed the judge's arm. Arthur, stop this. Judge Rossi's voice was sharp, a command. But he struggled, resisted, shouting incoherently, trying to pull his arm free. The second marshal moved in. Together, they subdued him quickly, professionally, pinning his arms behind his back. He was still yelling about disrespect, about his authority, raving. And then came the quiet click, unmistakable. Handcuffs. Judge Arthur Harrison, standing in his own courtroom, in handcuffs, his face pressed against the polished wood of the bench he commanded just moments before. 7 minutes, maybe 8, since Jasmine's quiet words. Retaliation. The courtroom was utterly silent again, but this silence was different, heavy with shock, and a strange, undeniable sense of justice served, raw, unfiltered. The marshals started leading the now silent, trembling Judge Harrison away, towards Judge Rossi's chambers. Judge Rossi watched them go, her face etched with profound disappointment. She turned to the stunned courtroom. There will be a recess. A new judge will be assigned to this case by tomorrow morning. This court is adjourned. She banged the gavel once, a sharp final sound. Then she looked at Jasmine, a long, searching look. Not accusatory, not approving either, just assessing. Jasmine met her gaze, held it for a moment. Then, almost imperceptibly, the corner of her mouth lifted. Just a fraction. Not a smile of triumph, not smugness. Something else. Weary acknowledgement, perhaps. The quiet, undeniable proof that sometimes the system, however flawed, could be forced to correct itself. The weight of the moment settled, heavy, uncomfortable. And Jasmine just stood there, breathing still. The doors closed behind the disgraced judge. The murmuring started instantly, low, urgent whispers. People pulling out phones they'd kept hidden, fingers flying across screens. Did you see that? He just snapped, completely lost it. Handcuffs, they actually put him in handcuffs. She didn't even raise her voice. That line, that's not an order, that's retaliation, ice cold. Who is she, Crockett? Jasmine Crockett. Gotta find her online. The whispers became a buzz. The buzz became a low roar as people started filing out, eager to share what they'd witnessed. Within minutes, the first clip surfaced. Shaky phone footage, capturing the final exchange. The judge's meltdown, the arrival of Judge Rossi, the struggle, the cuffs. It hit Twitter like a thunderclap. Judge meltdown. Courtroom chaos. Jasmine Crockett. Retaliation. The hashtags exploded, trending nationally within the hour. Initial tweets were pure shock, disbelief. OMG, Judge Harrison arrested in his own courtroom. Watch this, Judge meltdown. Lawyer Jasmine Crockett just ended a judge's career with 5 words. Cold, blooded, retaliation Jasmine Crockett. This is insane. Judge Harrison completely loses it after lawyer calls him out. Handcuffs, courtroom chaos. Then came the takes, the instant analysis, the polarization. From legal commentators, unprecedented. A total breakdown of judicial temperament. Harrison crossed lines that can't be uncrossed, raises serious questions about fitness for the bench. From conservative pundits, activist lawyer provokes judge into understandable reaction. Lack of respect for authority is eroding our institutions. Where is decorum? From progressive voices, finally, accountability. Jasmine Crockett is a hero, standing up to biased power structure. This judge's behavior is likely the tip of the iceberg. Systemic bias. From regular people, that judge has been unprofessional. I had him last year, total nightmare. Glad he got what was coming to him. Judge meltdown. Others defended him. He dedicated 30 years to the bench. One bad day provoked by an aggressive lawyer shouldn't define him. Fake news, justice for Harrison. Memes started appearing. Judge Harrison's furious face. Jasmine's calm expression, the handcuffs, captioned with variations of the retaliation line. TikToks reenacting the scene, duets with the shaky footage, lawyers explaining contempt versus retaliation. Major news networks broke in. CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, special reports, panels convened. Headline, Judge arrested mid-trial after confrontation with attorney. Headline, Who is Jasmine Crockett? Lawyer AT Center of Courtroom Firestorm. Headline, Judicial Meltdown Sparks National Debate on Courtroom Bias. The story was everywhere, consuming the news cycle. Jasmine's face, captured in a still from the footage, calm, resolute, was suddenly iconic. Her law firm's website crashed from the traffic. Her old social media profiles were unearthed, scoured for clues about the woman who remained silent while the world erupted around her. They found pictures of her volunteering at legal aid clinics, old posts about cases she'd won for underprivileged clients, a life dedicated to the fight, mostly unseen, until now. This wasn't just news, it was a cultural moment. A flashpoint for discussions simmering for years. Power dynamics, judicial temperament, bias, gendered, racial, systemic, the courage to speak truth to power even when power wears a robe and wields a gavel. Think pieces flooded the internet. The Atlantic, The New Yorker, Slate, Vox, Fox News Opinion, Breitbart. Everyone had an angle. The quiet fury of Jasmine Crockett, how restraint became resistance. The Harrison meltdown, symptom of a judiciary under siege or justice finally served. Why we need more lawyers like Jasmine Crockett and fewer judges like Arthur Harrison. The Crockett confrontation, a masterclass in handling workplace microaggressions, even when your workplace is a courtroom. Morning shows debated it fiercely. Hosts argued across split screens. He was provoked, she was unprofessional. She was brilliant, he abused his power. The legal ethics boards announced immediate investigations into Judge Harrison's conduct, obviously, but also some quarters demanded into Jasmine's inciting behavior. That argument quickly lost steam against the video evidence. Podcasters dedicated entire episodes. Legal podcasts dissected the procedural errors, the contempt citation, the grounds for arrest, obstruction, resisting, possible assault with the gavel. True crime podcasts explored Harrison's past rulings for signs of bias. Cultural podcasts discussed the broader implications. The woman who recorded the key footage gave an interview. "I just knew something was wrong. The way he kept picking at her. Her voice was so calm, but his face, it was pure anger. When she said that line about retaliation chills, I had to record." Jasmine's client, Mr. Evans, was quietly transferred to another holding facility pending the assignment of a new judge. His case, suddenly overshadowed, was now inextricably linked to the national firestorm. His chance at a fair trial, ironically, might have just improved dramatically. No judge would want to appear biased on this case now. There was a brief memory Jasmine allowed herself. Not the old courtroom shame, something different. Her grandmother, years ago, watching her study late into the night for the bar exam. Grandma had been a cleaner, worked in office buildings downtown, including the courthouse, saw judges and lawyers sweep past her every day. She told Jasmine once, "They wear fancy robes, honey, but don't ever let that fool you about what's underneath. Some are good people, some just like the power. You make sure you're one of the good ones, and don't you ever let the power-hungry ones quiet you." Jasmine hadn't thought of that in years. Now the memory settled, a quiet affirmation. The official word came down swiftly. Judge Arthur Harrison was suspended indefinitely, pending criminal charges and judicial review. His career was over, effectively ended in those 7 minutes of unraveling. The ripples continued outwards. Calls for mandatory judicial bias training intensified. Discussions about courtroom recording policies reignited. Law students studied the transcript, the video, a case study in real time. Jasmine Crockett gave no interviews, released no statements. Her silence was strategic, powerful. She let the event speak for itself, let the public debate rage. She returned to her office the next day. The attention was overwhelming, reporters camped outside, phones ringing nonstop, emails flooding the inbox, offers for book deals, movie rights, speaking engagements. She ignored it all, politely declined requests through her firm's managing partner. Her focus remained singular, her clients, Mr. Evans's case, the work. The work was the point, always had been. Online, the chatter continued but shifted. The initial shock wore off. Some tried to paint her as an opportunist, an attention seeker. But it didn't stick. Her composure, her history, her continued silence in the face of fame, it contradicted the narrative. Instead, she became a symbol of quiet strength, of principled resistance. The meme of her calm face opposite Harrison's rage became shorthand for standing firm against injustice. "Stay Crockett," calm started trending occasionally. The phrase, "that's not an order, that's retaliation," entered the lexicon. Used in workplaces, in online disputes, whenever someone felt power was being abused rather than exercised legitimately. Weeks later, the media frenzy had mostly moved on. Other stories dominated the headlines. But the impact lingered. In courtrooms across the country, a subtle shift, a heightened awareness, a reminder of the accountability that could befall anyone, regardless of the robe. Jasmine secured a new hearing date for Mr. Evans, before a different judge. Fair, impartial, meticulously professional. She walked into that courtroom, notes in hand, ready. There were still stares, whispers, a sense of expectation in the air. But she tuned it out, focused on the facts, on the arguments, on her client. She presented the GPS evidence again, calmly, precisely. This time there were no interruptions, no personal remarks, no theatrical sighs. Just the quiet, steady process of justice. Slow, imperfect, but moving. Later that evening, leaving the office late, she paused by the large window overlooking the city lights. The reflection showed her face, tired, yes, but composed, resolute. The fleeting smile from that chaotic day in court was long gone, replaced by the steady weight of purpose. There was no victory lap, no celebration, just the quiet hum of the city below, and the knowledge that she hadn't let the power-hungry ones quiet her. The work continued, the fight remained. And somewhere online, someone probably just typed, retaliation. The echo resonated, quietly, persistently.